This is Kate at the Library of Whispers, and today I'm going to finish reading this book, The Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King, the visual companion. It's the official illustrated movie companion book. And we were up to this chapter, The Ring Quest, Minas Morgul. That accursed valley passed into evil a very long time ago. Minas Ithil, the Tower of the Moon, was once the fortress city of Isildur, son of Elendil. It was built high in an upland valley beneath the mountains of Shadow, on the road which runs south out of the fir lands of Ithilien, and in its day it was a city both beautiful and bright, and the moon lit its inner courts with a wondrous silver light. But in the early part of the Third Age, the Tower of the Moon was lost to Sauron's forces and became the lair of the Nazgul, the 9 ring wraiths, and then it became known as Minas Morgul, the Tower of Black Sorcery. Now it has the radiance of corpse light, a faint, ailing, noisome green, and in its walls and towers windows show like countless holes, all looking inward to emptiness and ruin. A road leads out of the dead city, crossing a bridge adorned with the carved forms of people and beasts, all of them loathsome and corrupt. Beneath the bridge, the water steams with vile and poisonous fumes, and all about the meads on either side of the stream, luminous white flowers glow with an eerie, charnel beauty. It is a grim and unnerving place, even without the shrieking presence of the Nazgul or the vast army of orcs which issues from its cavernous doors. The Pass of Cirith Ungol. A near vertical stairway has been cut into the sheer rock which leads upward from the gate of Minas Morgul into the dizzying heights above, and up to the only pass which leads through the mountains of Shadow. The pass is guarded by the Tower of Cirith Ungol, and the way is perilous, not only because the stairs are treacherous and the tower manned by vicious orcs, but for the unseen horror which gives both pass and tower their side of the mountains, for the pass is too vigilantly guarded by the 2 watchers and the orc garrison. For them to take that route, the mouth of this cavern emits a foul stench. Inside is utmost darkness. Through an upward-leading tunnel they go, passing tributary passages which they sense rather than see in this lightless place. There is something in here, but an ominous silence, yet Frodo senses some lurking malice, and oddly the walls are sticky to the touch. As they penetrate deeper into the dark tunnels, there comes a venomous hissing sound, and Gollum flees, deserting the hobbits he had promised to guide safely through the mountain to Mordor. A pale green light begins to illuminate the tunnel. Now the true depth of Gollum's treachery is revealed, for the cavern into which he has led them is the lair of a vile and ancient as they make their escape from the tower of Cirith Ungol, and their entry into the land of shadow, for Frodo's garments and belongings have been appropriated and squabbled over by the tower guards, and Sam has only his cloak to spare. But some of the orcs who garrisoned the tower are very little taller than the two hobbits, and so, although they may be disgusted by the rank stench of the enemy, soldiers and appalled at having to scavenge raiment from the dead, orc armour and breeches it must be if they are to enter Mordor. Besides, their bizarre helmets will shield the faces of folk who look very little like the denizens of that grim place. 'Tis very effective disguise, too effective maybe. As the hobbits struggle across the foothills, they find themselves face to face with a large battalion of orcs, and are whipped into line by the overseer of that troop, and after a painful forced march, soon find themselves in the midst of a vast orc army. Hundreds of thousands of enemy soldiers encamped on the Gorgoroth plain, ready to annihilate the remnants of the armies of Gondor and Rohan under Aragorn's command. Drums beat and torches flare in the night. Unspeakable things roast over campfires. All of Middle-earth will soon look like this, blighted and abused, unless Frodo's quest succeeds. Orodruin, the Mountain of Fire, the final destination for the destruction of the One Ring, is clearly visible now through the brooding, ash-laden skies. Mount Doom. There is no veil between me and the Wheel of Fire. I see it even with my waking eyes. Far across the Gorgoroth plain, that giant volcano, Orodruin, the Mountain of Fire, is erupting. It casts great streams of ash and lava high into the air, illuminating the thick cloud which hangs over Mordor with a flickering, fiery orange light. The closer Sam and Frodo approach, dragging their desperate, weary feet ever onward, the more violent and hellish their surroundings become. Red heat hisses out of fissures. Everywhere the rocks are jagged and razor-sharp. Choking volcanic ash blankets the land, terrifying red lightning forks across the sky. For these Shire folk, used to the soft greens and blues of a gentle rain-washed rural landscape, with its rolling pastures and flower-filled meadows, its mill ponds and woodlands, it must look like the very end of the world. With the ring burdening him ever more cruelly, by the time they reach the foot of the mountain, Frodo will be reduced to crawling on his hands and knees. Thousands of feet above them, the volcano towers, its summit wreathed in fiery cloud. Even for two strong, able-bodied men, the climb would be a feat. For two exhausted and traumatized hobbits at the very end of their resources, both physical and mental, it represents what appears as impossible task. Far, far above is the stone doorway of the Samath Nor, which leads into the Crag of Doom, that great lava-filled chasm in which Sauron first forged the One Ring, and the only place in all the world where it and all its evil can be unmade. Yet all this remains shrouded to them, as to the third creature which toils up this grim and vertiginous rings, it is the creature once called Smeagol who best knows the seductive power of the One Ring. Warped by the proximity of his precious, Smeagol has been subsumed by Gollum, who has forgotten all that was ever good or gentle in his being. The loss of the ring has caused him such intense pain and avarice that he is determined to regain it, no matter what the price. Frodo must enter the chambers of the Samath Nor and cast the One Ring into the boiling lava at the crack of doom, the fissure which lies far below. In doing so, he must relinquish the vast potential of the ruling ring, all its seductive power and might. It will require immense strength of will to carry his great quest through to the end. I have made my choice. And there we have the end of that reading. Well, we know